Hello lovely people, this is the 2009 Exam 2 question 4 of the Networks module, so let's get into it. A walkway is to be built across the lake. We've got 11 activities. The directed network shows the activities and their completion times in weeks, okay. The EST, or earliest starting time of activity E, which is this here. So the earliest possible time we could start activity E would be after we finish A and C, so that's just going to be 7 weeks. We just need to write the number 7. The critical path is going to be the longest route through the graph. This network sort of starts and meets in a few different locations, so we can kind of break it up like this. The longest route through the first little section over here is going to be BDF, so that takes 4 plus 2 is 6 plus 3 is 9. The ACE is 3 plus 4 is 7 plus 1 is 8, so the longest route is the BDF, meaning that AC and FE all have floats of 1, which might be useful for the next part. Looking at the next section, I've got GI, which takes 6, or HJ, which takes 4. So GI takes longer, so that's going to be critical. And then K, because it's the only option, is going to be critical. So my critical path is going to be BDF GIK. BDF GIK. Okay. The project supervisor correctly writes down the float time for each activity that can be delayed and makes a list. Determine the longest float time. So we've already figured out the float times of AC and E are all 1. If we delayed any of those activities individually by 1, that top route would become equal to the critical routes to get to this point. So they're all 1s. And then looking at the H and J, to get from this point to this point, it's either going to take 5 plus 2 is 7, or 1 plus 3 is 4, which means that H and J both have a float of 3. So the longest number, or the largest float time is going to be 3 on the list. A 12th activity L with duration 3 weeks is to be added without altering the critical path. Activity L has an EST of 4 and an LST of 5. Draw activity L. So an EST of 4 is going to correspond to this location right here. And then we've got to figure out where the activity goes. So we've got to figure out whether it goes there, or maybe even there, or elsewhere, but let's figure that out. So the latest possible time we can start the activity is 5 weeks, and it has a duration of 3 weeks. So EST is 4, LST is 5, duration is 3. If we were to go here, and it had a duration of 3, it would take 4, plus 3 is 7, plus 4 is 11, plus 1 is 12. So that's going to alter the critical path, because we know the critical path is this here, and it should only take us 9 to get to that location there. So being 4 plus 2 plus 3 on the original critical path. So this is my original critical path. Oops. So it's not going to be to the first vertex. If I go to the second vertex, I'm going to do if again. So if this starts at 5, if it does, it'll be 5 from here, plus 3 to get here is 8, plus 1 to get here is 9. That checks out. So yeah, that's where it goes. It goes in that location there. So a little bit tricky figuring it out based on the LST. But again, LST being the latest possible time we can start the activity. If we started L at the latest possible time, being after 5 weeks, and then it takes 3 weeks, we'll get here at 8, and then E will take 1, which is 9, which means we won't delay the completion of the project, which is good. So that's that one. Activity L starts, but then takes 4 weeks longer than originally planned. So we're going to say it takes 7. We'll leave that original diagram because that was part of what we had to draw for our exam. So we actually won't change that number, but let's pretend it's a 7 for a second. It starts, but takes 4 weeks longer than originally planned. Determine the overall time in weeks for the completion of the building project. So if that were to take 7 instead, then what we're going to look at is how that impacts the critical path. So it's not going to affect this section on the right hand side. We're just looking to this point here. So it originally would have taken us 9 to get to this location before the GH activity. If L now takes 7, the longest route through the graph looks to be, or through the first section, looks to be this BLE path. So B is 4, L is now 7 for 11, plus E is 1, which is 12. The original time it took to get to this location was 9, now it's 12, thus it appears that it has been delayed by a total of 3 weeks. So the overall completion time is going to be 3 weeks longer than it was, or otherwise I suppose we didn't actually know how long it took before. So it's going to take 4 plus 7 plus 1, which is 12, and then plus 5, which is 17, 18, 19, and it's going to be 25 to get to the end. So we just had to keep in mind how long it took to get to the end of the project with the new kind of critical path thing going on because activity L was delayed. So that's it. That's this section. I think it was 9% got full marks for this whole page. So 9% got full marks, and I think 14% got no marks for this page. So you have a frame of reference. Anyways, hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next one.